Hello, I'm Roberto, and we are learning Rust. Like every week, here with us,
Is Luciano. Hello, everyone.
someone, somewhere, sorry, right, left. If you don't know in this channel we talk about Rust and technology. You can find a recording of previous streams on YouTube, and if you're watching this on YouTube, we stream every day, Monday, 6 p.m. Dublin time on Twitch. Today we are going on from where we left last time. We have a Rust Lambda that is fetching the next issue number and adding it to the state that is then propagated through our state machine, our step function state machine. So, is this true? I mean, is still working?
Yes, so let me share my screen. Thank you for the introduction, Roberto. So basically, what we are doing, just as a super quick recap, Full Stack Bulletin, a newsletter that comes out every week with news about full stack web development. We are generating this newsletter with some help from automation. This automation is done as a step function that looks more or less like this. So there are a bunch of steps that do different things and fetch data from different places so that we can get a preview automatically generated and then we can edit manually that preview. Now, last time what we were doing was working on this particular lambda called fetch issue number. And basically the idea is that if we go on this page, we want to get what's going to be the next number based on whatever was the last number of basically the last published issue. We want to get that number, and we know that the next one we're going to generate is going to be this number plus one. So this is what fetch next issue number is doing. We took the opportunity to rewrite, well, this was actually a new lambda that we didn't have before. Before we were doing this thing manually. So every time we needed to check exactly which one was the number, rename everything, and make sure that we didn't really mess up the order. So now with this new lambda that we wrote in Rust, this is going to help us to automate a little bit more the process of creating a new newsletter. The thing is that last time we did a very rushed job of creating this lambda just to try to make it work. It was our first lambda in Rust in this step function, so it was more about testing the integration end to end. But if we look at the code again, it is a little bit crappy, I'm going to have to admit. So I think today we can take an opportunity to rewrite this code and make it a little bit nicer.
Yeah. And also, do you want to add some tests? We can, what else? We could, no, I think some tests.
Yeah, I think
use
that
the number.
the main thing that we should fix is that we are using unwrap everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Which is not super nice, I guess. We should be doing a better error handling. The other one is that we have the URL hard-coded. Maybe we can change that with an environment variable.
Oh, yeah, true.
Or I don't know. Maybe here it can be just an argument, so we can make this a little bit more testable.
We could, or we make it an environment variable, or we make it a parameter there, the URL, and we use the step function step for the defaults to add the URL as a default in our configuration in the state machine.
That could be an option, or it's just an environment variable at the lambda level.
Yeah, we can do it multiple ways. I don't know which one is the cleanest, to be honest. I mean, if you aim to recycle this lambda to fetch also from other sources, taking the URL from the state is better because you can use this lambda inside other step functions in theory, because multi-step function can reuse the same lambdas. I don't know how you tell that to some, but in theory it's possible.
Yes, I don't see that use case that much, to be honest. It's more for testability that I don't really like this string to be hard-coded there.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's for sure. We was just thinking when to put stuff in the environment and when to put stuff in the state.
Yeah, but I agree with that way of thinking. Like if it's something you want to make more reusable, I mean, even an environment variable would be reusable enough because you could. No, actually, you're right. You cannot really define an environment. It's tied to the deployment of the lambda, while the step function only links that lambda. So yes,
exactly.
good point.
Okay, but in our case, doesn't care, doesn't change anything. Environment is fine.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if we want to start to do this, let's actually review very quickly the code. So this is a Lambda, and if you've never seen a Lambda in Rust, it's not too different from a Lambda in other languages like Node.js or Python. Basically, you have the concept of an handler function, and it receives an event, can do something, it needs to produce a response. And then you can wire that Lambda with different events in AWS. For instance, we are using a step function here, so manually invoking it from a step function, but it could be something, I don't know, as a reaction to a file in S3, an API gateway request, any event that can happen in AWS could be something that you can wire to a Lambda to execute some custom piece of business logic and react to an event. So this is where in Rust, this is how you write it. It can be async because the Lambda runtime in Rust is written using Tokyo. So you can use async functions. So inside of here, you can also do async stuff. And then there is a main, and the main is what happens the first time that Lambda is bootstrapped. So a Lambda gets generated only when needed. So if there is a new event for the first time, the Lambda will be bootstrapped from scratch. So all the code is taken, initialized in some kind of container. So you have an opportunity here to execute some kind of initialization code. By default, the only thing we are doing is instantiating the logger using the tracing subscriber crate. And this is boilerplate code that you get when you generate the Lambda for the first time. And then this run service fn function handler, what it does is basically running on a loop this function as long as there are events. It's going to keep running, getting more events, executing the handler, sending back the response. So this is implementing basically the runtime for us as a library. So in reality, we only need to focus on this code. And what we are doing in this code, we want to, again, scrape that page and try to read what was the latest number and return that +1. So what we are doing, we define another function in another submodule called fetch last issue number. And inside of here, we have all the business logic. And the business logic is using two crates. One is called request, which is like an HTTP client. And another one is called scraper, which allows us to take a bunch of HTML and parse it using selectors like CSS selectors. And then we also use another crate that we used before in our previous streams called nom, which allows you to create parsers basically by defining combinators. So what we are doing is we take the URL, we make an HTTP request, we take the response HTML, we scrape it, we have a selector to get the first item here. Let's see if I can show you. Where is it?
And we
I lost
unwrap
it.
like crazy.
The first item here, so the first link, basically taking that selector, then we get all the text, and then we need to use the parser to extrapolate just the number. And the way we did that is basically saying consume everything until you see the hashtag. So there is generally an emoji, then a space, then an hashtag. Basically for us, it doesn't matter what's before. We just look for the hashtag. Then after the hashtag, we expect to find the number. And that's basically what we return. Make sense?
Yeah. The only problem, like you said before, is that we unwrap a lot here because all the synchronous call get unwrapped, all the parsing that can not find a value get unwrapped. So we really trust that that value is in the page and so on.
Exactly. So what I will do here is to start to pass the URL. So let's say that here we can receive str, which is going to be the URL, right? And we, for now, let's just remove this one and we'll need to call it from here.
So do you want to add that to the environment now or later?
Let's assume we will have it in the environment. We will add it to the Lambda definition later. So what we want to do is I need to remember how you read an environment variable, env, I think, std-env. So let's say use std-env. And then what we can do is let URL equal env-var URL. Yes, I like that.
Okay, makes sense with even the except, because otherwise you have to unwrap. Even here, no.
Well, expect is a little bit like unwrap.
URL is a string, and we want a reference to a string. So,
Yeah.
or we change the type to string, or we use sref in line 10.
If you use an ampersand, I think it should do that out of the box.
Okay.
Now, I don't know why it is complaining here. Oh, yeah, that it doesn't like that it's uppercase. Fair enough. I generally like to call the... Come on. Can I rename simple? I generally like to call environment variables uppercase because they are uppercase generally in the context itself, but whatever.
Yeah, I have the same habit, but Rust doesn't, so yay.
Okay, so are we happy enough with this one? I guess here we still have an unwrap, but I will fix the other one first.
Okay, this one we leave it for later.
Mm-hmm.
Because in theory we have to do what? A sum. Oh, well, let's do that later. Cool.
Yeah, I suppose here we need to think a little bit of what are the possible failure scenarios, right?
Well, let's start. Failure scenario number 1, the URL is not answering.
Yeah, this response is failing, basically.
Yeah, so we have to handle somehow there. And
the
stop.
other one is that we cannot parse the HTML. Well, actually, this is more, we cannot get the body from the request, basically.
Yeah.
That might
But,
fail. Then
yes.
we also have a scraper. I'm
But the
surprised
scraper
that
is
this one
parsing
doesn't fail.
But because probably selector is failing when you do document HTML select in line 23.
Yeah, probably it's, I don't know, it's very forgiving HTML parser, but then if you have rubbish, you're not going to be able to select.
No, I just think that he's lazy, so it's not really parsing the document there.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's parsing the document in line 23.
Okay, I think this one is just, yeah, you're right. This one is just creating the selector. Then here is when it might go wrong.
Yeah, in that unwrap is where it takes the HTML, it takes the selector and try to see if they work together. And there you can have something. I don't know what is going to happen there.
And then the other issue is here where we might get the element, but it might not have the attribute title, which, to be fair, with this selector shouldn't really happen because this selector is selecting only items with title. So I think this is the only unwrap that we could really
makes sense.
afford to have. And then this is the unwrap from the parser expression. So if we fail here,
because there we give back an okay, so we could remove the okay. And
I think here it might still fail. What if we publish a title that doesn't have that format?
Okay, so you want to give an error there if the format is not parsable by nom.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So one way that we could start to introduce better error management is with a crate called ThisError. So I'm going to install that. Let's go to cd function argo add ThisError. And basically what this crate does, so in Rust there are different ways, I guess, to handle, well, or to report on errors, let's call it this way, because right now we don't really want to handle errors, we just want to report them, properly differentiating the different kinds of errors, rather than just unwrapping and letting the execution panic. And then good luck figuring out why did it panic, right? So this error, what it does, it basically allows you to express all the possible failure conditions and create proper error objects. And I think the easiest thing we can do is just check an example in here. Rust is error crate. And basically what you can do, you can define an enum. Like for instance, here it's data store, right? And this data store can have different kinds of errors, disconnected, reduction, invalidator, unknown, whatever. And you are basically defining all the variants are the possible kinds of errors that can happen in this particular context. So what you can do is cool because you can even map errors that are actually just wrapping other errors. For instance, here from IO error means that this is actually, it was an IO error, but in this context, you are wrapping it into a data store error, and it's going to do all the conversion automatically. Or you can also define specific error messages, and you can even use references to values that you can have as part of that error. For instance, here invalidator as unexpected and a found, you can use these
by
values.
by name or by position, because reduction is by position.
Because
Instead,
this is a tuple and this is a struct. So we can do something similar and trying to map all the different errors, basically.
Okay. And how do we throw them then?
Then the way that you throw, because you don't really throw in Rust, is more that you return a result with that particular error.
Okay.
Oh, we have Anand. Hey, Anand, thank you for following. How are you today? Okay, so let's start to do that. Use this error, and then we say enum, what do we call it? Scrape error, I guess.
They are all scraper errors. Yeah, come on. Let's call it scrape error.
So here what we want to do is derive debug an error. So this is applying actually the derive macro that is given by this crate. And now we need to start defining all the possible errors. So let's start with, I don't know, request failed.
Yeah.
And request failed, I think what we can do is to just say that this one is...
do you want to add the URL or not to the exception?
Actually, that could be an idea.
As a string.
So this is going to be a string, yeah. And what I was thinking is if we go back to here, we can use this from. Actually, you know what? We can wrap exactly the original error, which is going to be a request error.
Okay.
And I think what we can
that
do...
probably will contain the URL anyway on its
I think so. Let's see if we manage to do that.
You need to specify a string for that?
I'm curious if we can do something like this. 0 dot something, probably not.
No idea.
Okay.
What is the parameter to that request failed? The same as error, because it's inheriting basically from error.
Yeah, I think the cool thing is that if we do this, then we can use the question mark. Like if we don't add our custom stuff, otherwise we will need to map and define how to construct this error. Let me show you in a second. So if we do, let's just say here something like could not or request failed, something like that for now, as simple as that. So what we could do here is to say rather than the error is a unit type, now is a scrape error, which of course is gonna say, oh, this needs to be public, yeah. Now this of course is gonna say, well, it doesn't even complain because we are not constructing it, but here what we can do is we can start to replace that with a question mark.
So in this way, it will throw that error if it doesn't reach line 39.
So basically question mark exactly is like if you cannot unwrap, basically, you need to take the error value and return it. So it's going to return a result as a R variant with that error. But the cool thing of the question mark is it also uses the into. So it's going to check, well, the error I have here is of type request error. Can I convert it into the error that you are defining here, which is a scrape error? And when we use this from here, the macro is doing lots of magic for us to basically do that.
One day we should look into Rust macros and write one.
Yes, which might be fun. So here, for example, if we say request failed, blah, I think this is going to complain because you cannot have two of them, because in that case it's not going to know, okay, now into which one, like into which variant do you want to end up, right?
To convert, yes.
So manually you can do a bunch of different things. Discrete is kind of a shortcut, because otherwise we would have needed to implement the from manually ourselves for every single variant.
Yeah.
Here we get lots of shortcuts. Okay, so that's the first one solved.
If every time we have an unwrap we put a question mark, then we just have to implement all the possible errors, or this is an approach that is a little bit hardcore.
That could be one way, and I like discrete when you write libraries because it makes it much simpler to define the error cases. So the other one could be this one, right? When we cannot read the body. So let's just say cannot read body. Now I have no idea which kind of error is this. So what are we doing here? Response text is a create result string. Okay, this one might be tricky because it might be the case where we need to do again something like this and we cannot do it.
Because request is not making a difference between the two of them.
Let's try to figure it out. If we go to text.
If you put a question mark, is complaining about something, rationalizer, like a wrong type or something like that.
If I just put a question mark here?
Yeah. It's going to complain that scrape error is not supporting.
Let me do this.
I think,
I think it's still going to go into request failed if we do it this way. Do we like it?
It's not, well, in the end, if you can't get the body, it's still a request failed, because what happened?
Yeah, probably the error itself will be descriptive enough.
Yeah.
I think we can even do something like this, but I think when you use discrete, it's gonna show you like a stack trace, because in Rust you don't really have a stack trace. I don't know if that's entirely correct, but my understanding is that the stack trace is not like built in. It's more that when you use this kind of chaining, then you can use libraries that look at the error and figure out exactly, okay, does this error contain another error, and build a stack trace that way.
Okay. Now, if we replace the unwrap on line 27 again with a question mark.
Okay, this one I think is going to be a little bit different.
That one is what kind of type is that one?
Okay, now
Rationalizer is complaining about what?
I think this one might be one that we don't really care about, because we are not receiving the string as an input.
Selector error kind.
Which is going to be basically it couldn't parse the selector.
Oh, it couldn't parse the selector. But well, the selector is here. We can unwrap, to be honest.
Exactly. I agree that here
the selector is hard-coded. It's not a parameter. So
I agree
if you don't want to add that, if you don't want to move it in the environment variables, I mean, but I don't see the why. Yeah, because they are coded.
Okay, and then the other one is this one, which actually this
the
one first.
34. Yeah.
So if we add a question mark here, actually this is not really a question mark because this is an option, I think. Yeah, it's not an error.
Okay.
So here is more, how do we handle that?
We have to do a if let sum.
Or do an unwrap.
No, we can do if let's. Can't we do? Yeah, unwrap or something.
Actually, we can do okay, or I think is the one where we can define the error ourselves.
And then we throw a custom error that we define. That is cannot find a campaign title. Something like
something like cannot find
campaign
title.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, let's not do anything. We just create it manually.
You have to put the macro in front of it. Yes.
We could say could not find a title with the current selector.
Yeah.
Okay, so here what we can do is we can say, okay, or does it take just an error? So we can say scrape error cannot find campaign title. And I think at this point, it should be safe enough to use a question mark.
Yeah. Because it's throwing, basically.
So okay is converting an option to a result. But we have to specify, okay, if the option is none, what is the error that you want to map to in that case?
Okay.
So we end up with a result, and we can use a question mark because it's already of type scrape error.
Okay, and line 39, you say it is safe to assume that there is a title because otherwise the selector is not giving us back anything, so...
Exactly,
wow.
safe to unwrap because we are coding the selector.
It's the same comment you wrote in line 29. Yeah. The same comment of line 29, he copy and pasted. Cool.
Okay, now there is the last one, which is invalid title, I guess, or cannot parse title.
Yeah, that one is good.
I like it. Yeah. And maybe we can also say what is the title.
Yeah. So in the line below, we have to do...
cannot parse
cool.
issue number, yes, string.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you. What are you using, Copilot?
Copilot, yes.
Yeah, I was using recently the AWS Whisper. I don't know. It's not very helpful, to be honest.
Okay, so here, how do we do this? Because here we are unwrapping.
If we don't unwrap and we put a question mark, what is happening? But well, to be honest.
So here we are at a different level because this result is a non error.
I think that unwrap is fine because if we arrive there, number is for sure a number because of line 21. It's impossible that number is not a number.
Right. Okay. So these are the ones that might
Those are the ones that can fail and the ones that make sense. Because, yeah, I mean, can it be an empty string number after you parse it with num?
Can it be an empty string?
I mean, if there is a sharp and then a, there is no number, for example. What is num going to do? Is giving you number as an empty string, or is throwing?
Actually, that's possible. We can test this. I mean, we can write a quick test and see, right?
Yeah, let's write a test. Let's see what happens when we parse a wrong tab. What he wrote.
Wow. I like it. I want to run this one first. Let's see what happens.
It happens that it has to compile everything.
That's the problem with Rust. You need to be patient with the compiler.
Well, we are back at all this KCD comic. It's compiling, and people fighting with chairs and a sword. Yeah. Ah, the good old days.
Time to drink.
Yeah, but it's not water. There is a YouTuber that is doing.
You cannot see what's inside. Maybe it's wine.
There is a YouTuber that is doing hardware reviews while drinking a beer every day. Every time he changes beer, so he's also doing a beers review basically. And the video length is the time it takes to drink a beer, probably. I mean,
nice.
With video with editing, you can do a lot about it. But
okay,
anyway,
this test passed. That's good.
It's an interesting concept to drink while reviewing. Okay, let's try to make a wrong title. So
parse number from title without
error.
Number.
Yeah, without number, and you remove the free one and just leave a sharp colon. Yeah, like this.
What and this should explode, right? Let's see what happens. I think it's just gonna say unwrap, whatever, panic or something like that.
Yeah, but where is important?
Parse int error kind empty. So that's
okay. So number is empty. Can't be not a number, but can be empty. So that unwrap is. Or we find a way of giving the exception in line 21. I mean, take at least one. I don't know. Do we have something in nom to say take while at least one of this?
Good question. But I think what we could do is here just have a check saying if
number is empty.
Yeah, exactly. Number is empty. Look at that. It's listening to us.
What he wrote.
So it's an error. Nom error. Whoa, what is this? Nom error.
Error.
Okay. I mean, it's not complaining, but I wouldn't have figured this one out myself.
Error.
Kind of digit. Cool.
Okay, and now what is throwing the test after this black magic that Copilot wrote for us?
Okay, so now it's probably gonna complain that the assertion actually no, it's gonna fail here in this unwrap.
Because how do you test an error in? You don't unwrap and you assert that is an error, like let error equal parse number. You don't unwrap and then you assert on the left.
Or you can use the matches. There is a crate, so you don't unwrap.
I mean the one below.
Something like this, matches. Oops. Assert. Something like matches, I think. And then we can say it's not going to be issue number. So if we don't unwrap, what do we assign this to? We assign
by the way, in the one below or on the one above?
I'm testing it in the one above. Hi, Hammers 99. How are you? So result, let's say. Yeah. And basically we say matches. What's the first one? The result. Yeah. Okay. That's a way of doing it.
Underline is the input left over, right?
And that we can ignore, like could be whatever. So this is passing. So we can do something similar. But in this case, we don't expect an error. We don't expect an okay. We expect an error of some kind.
Yeah.
So we could just say, how many parentheses do we have here? 3 we need, I guess.
And another one. Yeah.
And we also have Federico in the chat saying you can also use unwrap error if you just want to check if an error was returned without checking the type. That's a good suggestion. Okay, let me try this first.
Yeah, this one is working or not? I was curious.
This one is working, yeah. So the other suggestion was unwrap error, and then you only get the error and you can basically assert that is an error. How do you assert that it is an error? Is there an assertion? Assert error?
But probably you can.
Oh yeah, I guess the idea is that if it is not an error, it's gonna panic. So the test fails that way, right?
Mhm.
So
Well,
I
I
like
prefer.
this one a bit more.
Yeah,
It feels a bit
yeah.
more explicit.
I will leave it like that. Try now to change line 67, adding a number. This test should fail.
Yes, so if we add 4, this test should say it didn't match R something because it matches okay
4.
something
Okay,
4.
4.
Let's see. Assertion failed. Where do we see the difference? It doesn't give us a diff. I was expecting it would give us a diff. Now I'm disappointed.
Panicked at the assertion. Just
Okay,
panic.
matches doesn't do a diff, basically. It just says it didn't match.
But well, I'm disappointed, but fine.
Okay, because
Remove
assert
the
equal
4.
will give you a diff when it doesn't
Yeah.
match, I believe. I don't know if for everything, but for most cases it does. Okay, so we figure out another issue. How do we handle it? We have this thing here, which means that here is now safe to do the unwrap.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
let's add a comment there. Safe to
now,
unwrap.
Cannot parse issue number is a from non-error.
I want to try another thing first.
Okay.
If we do 0000023, what's gonna happen? Is it gonna give us 23, or is it gonna explode in some other way?
Or is considering it an octal and work?
Could also be interesting. Again, we're not gonna see the value though, right?
Yeah, but probably you have to test in the one above if you want to do a number like that, not in that one.
Let's just try here and let's see. I mean, match is probably still not gonna give us a diff.
Well, yeah.
That's annoying. Well, let's just say
08.
Actually,
And
what if we just say 23? Is this
if he's octal, it's not 23.
It's not octal. Okay, but it's giving octal, us 23.
Yeah, okay, cool then.
So, okay, that's good to know. So that's not going to be another error case we need to handle.
No.
So the last thing that we need to do then is this unwrap here. Right? Because this one...
Are we done with that one?
No, because this one is when we call this function. So this function can return an error here.
Okay.
So what we want to do in this case is map error. Yeah, Copilot, you were, I think, suggesting something cool. I think I like it. Scrape error cannot parse issue number and the title to string. Cool. Do we need the question mark? I don't think so. The question mark goes here. Okay.
Oh God, what is this? I got distracted a second with the cat.
So basically we are saying, in this case, if you get an error, the error is going to be of type nom, this weird error here, which I don't know if there is a way to simplify it. If there is any nom expert in the chat, open for suggestion there. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, please drop a comment.
Because you didn't want to do a from in our error type.
We could have done a from, but then I don't know how easy would it be to get the title, the full title.
You're right. Yes.
But anyway, I am a bit happier with this one.
Yeah, cool.
I guess another thing that might be interesting to check not sure if now or maybe another time, is what if we want to mock HTTP requests? What is an easy way? Maybe we can simulate different pieces of HTML.
Or we split the function and we pass the what we pass, the HTML.
Yeah, you will need to have like a loader or I don't know, requester, whatever. I don't know what to call it, but you will need to have that decoupled and then mock it that way.
Or you just have to directly request. That I have no idea how to do.
Okay, let's leave it as a thought for a moment, because I want to go back to the main and think, how do we handle errors here?
So that unwrap in line 10.
So we are always returning an OK.
Yeah, because we await and
ideal,
unwrap.
I guess.
Fetcher last issue await what is returning?
So await is basically like in JavaScript, if you put await in front, it's gonna wait for this future to complete.
Okay.
And it gives you back the value, but the value is going to be a result. So we need to deal with the result.
So here we can do an if let sum, or
maybe what we can do for simplicity is something like let last number equal this. And then here, if we do a question mark, I don't know if it's going to work. Is it going to work? Magically.
Because this one is throwing what?
Is it because, let's check this Lambda event. Sorry, this Lambda, this error here, which comes from the Lambda runtime. Let's figure out what it is. Lambda runtime API client error.
Okay, thank you.
Which is, let's figure it out. Okay, it's just a generic error type.
Of some kind.
So I think any error, anything that implements error, which we do by virtue of using the crate, this error, can be converted to this one.
Because obviously AWS wanted to be as generic as possible and be able to throw any kind of possible error that Rust can emit.
So I don't know if this is the best way of handling this.
Well, it will fail.
Yeah. So
okay. Now, if we deploy this one without environment variable, we should see a first
error, which is going to fail here, saying that. Now, this is also not great because it's a panic. So I don't know if there is a...
well, let's see what is happening like this. I mean, the panic from Rust, how do you see that in the step function UI? It's interesting to have an idea.
I think what's happening, but it's a bit of a guess, is that this function here, which is effectively doing a loop and continuously running this one every time there is a new event, has some kind of panic handler, which can recover from a panic and just generate an error for us. But I'm guessing. And I don't know how clean that is, if there might be side effects or whatever. Maybe it's more expensive. I don't know. Maybe it can corrupt the memory. I have no idea. So if there was another way, it would be nice, I guess.
URL, what is giving back the var before the accept? Is giving us a result, is giving us back... so it's a result. And
I suppose what we could do is just... if we just use question mark, right? It should work.
Yeah.
Because it's basically going to do the same thing we are doing here.
Yeah.
Which is convert, so keep the same error and just convert it to a generic error.
Yeah, because a result can give you back the value, or an error, in this case, is give us back if it gives back the error because we forgot intentionally to define URL, that is just bubbling up.
Okay, cool. So this looks much better. Do we want to deploy or do we want to change?
I would do a deployment and without the URL and see it failing.
Okay, sounds good.
Then
So
a deployment with a wrong URL and see it failing, and then a deployment with the right URL.
Let's go.
So you still have the URL somewhere, right?
In the browser.
Cool.
So while this is happening, if people have questions, please drop them in the chat. Otherwise, we will have to tell jokes of some kind, but I don't think we're very good with jokes. Are you, Robert?
Nah. Dead jokes all the time. And complaining about the weather. We could complain about the weather for 5 minutes.
Well, complaining about the weather in Ireland is like winning easy. Come on.
For example, today is too hot. You see? There's always something to complain about.
Okay, we have a deployment. Is gonna modify the step function and the lambda itself, which is what we expected. The step function because now it needs to reference a new version of that lambda.
I'm hoping some neighbor is having a barbecue and it's not my house burning.
Okay, if we see the flames, we know we need to call some kind of
support. I think somebody started the barbecue with some gasoline. Fine.
Okay,
the way.
So let's do an execution. We can do dry run true just to avoid my Mailchimp account to be spammed.
Can you change this default JSON somehow in the...
Not sure, actually. It's a good question.
Because you're always writing dry run true.
Yep. And sometimes I get it wrong because I cannot type. Ooh, look at the error. That's a bit obscure.
That is the exact type that AWS was defining.
Yeah, it doesn't even have a message, does it?
And variable not found is, aside the type that is, okay, please kill me, the error message is clear.
Yeah, it would have been nice if it said which environment variable, but whatever. We can live with that for now.
Yes, please tell me which environment variable was not found.
Okay,
for security reason, I'm not going to tell you.
Exactly. So then let's add that. If we go to the lambda function in the template YAML, there, what we want to do is environment, which is, I can never remember this, environment variables. I can never remember what's the correct syntax. And here we can say URL and give it the actual URL, which we should have.
Give a wrong one first.
Let's, what happens if we go here, for instance?
That is not...
Nothing. It doesn't, is it like a 404?
Yeah, but how can he doesn't know which, it does know it's 200.
It's 200, but it's empty. Look at that.
Yeah, because you didn't specify which newsletter to look at.
But this is good enough. This is going to fail, right? Or you want to give it like a wrong URL?
No. This is good because it's not testing a wrong URL, but it's testing the failing parser.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to fail to match the element in that particular page, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's do this first. We'll need to be patient and do a new deployment.
Oh, but now the build should be faster.
The build should be much faster, yes, because it's not
because the code is not changed. It's just the state machine that changed. And even the change in the state machine is just changing an environment variable. So it's not uploading, is updating the, probably it's not even updating the step function. It's really just updating the lambda if he's smart.
But I think if it's updating the lambda, it's going to also update the step function. Yeah, because it creates like a new version and then it needs to
change the version. You're right. I hope you're not paying for all the usage of all the versions of all the lambdas.
You pay only in S3, which I mean should be like few kilobytes. So
yeah, but still, why pay for something you don't use?
And also, I think it deletes at some point. I don't remember if we need to create an explicit deletion policy, but you can keep like a certain number of versions, and then below that is gonna remove them.
Or you can do a sum destroy, and then you do a sum deploy, and magic. Because
but assuming that this was a service running in production, you don't want to just destroy it.
Fine. What is a little bit of downtime? Uptime is
it's a fake metric.
Overrated. Sorry, I was loading the English dictionary.
Was not in the cache.
No.
Okay, failed. Again, it's blah 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 blah.
The error is always
could not find a title with the current selector.
That is what we wrote. So yeah, is our message.
Nice. So the next step is we actually go here and put the
and
real
we give
URL.
the right URL in the end.
So if we update this guy,
anyway, it works
again.
Yeah.
It should be a bit faster.
Well, like before.
And while this is happening in the background, I'm gonna search how to mock HTTP requests in Rust.
Go west.
Okay,
we can sing while we wait for deployment.
Yeah, we need a deployment song.
Oh, cool. I know a guy to ask to.
Ship it, ship it, ship it.
Do we need to pay royalty if we sing? Yeah, probably.
It depends if it's a famous song. We need to use something from Gianni Morandi, like he probably doesn't.
Oh my god!
Or he probably doesn't watch Rust channels.
No, you never know.
Okay, let's test it again. New execution. Oh, if you click on that, it retains the... Nice. I should have learned that earlier. If you click on the last execution, it retains
you replace the same payload. Well, now you know.
Yeah, it passed, and the number is 334, which is correct because meanwhile we got a new newsletter. Let me refresh.
Yay!
333 is there, which we didn't have at the beginning of the stream. So now if you want to know why is DNS still hard to learn, you can check out the last newsletter.
Because nobody does that. In the end, it's simple.
So I'm going to drop that in the chat if people are curious. Alrighty. So I found a couple of interesting libraries. Let's have a look. This is the first one.
To do the mock. Okay, you say.
Yeah, we have about 10 minutes. Let's see if we can figure something out. If not, we'll continue next time.
Yeah.
And by the way, if people in the chat have suggestions, also well accepted. So HTTP mock is one. Let's see if there is an example. Generally, I like to see examples.
Specifically for request, or is mocking?
No, I think it creates. I think the way you will solve this is that you use environment variables or parameters specifying the URL. Then what you can do is this is going to spin up like a local server that you can configure to return different responses. And then I think it gives you like a base path. And then you use that base path in your URL.
Okay.
So it's not as sophisticated like Python or Node where they can intercept the actual HTTP module behind the scene and do magic there, like monkey patching there. Here is more, I'll create a mini web server for you that does what you want.
And then you have to structure your code in a way that you can pass the URL like we did already. So it's not a huge problem for us. Okay, let's try HTTP mock. You have to
So this could be one. Let me quickly bring the other one called wire mock, which is the same name as the one I've seen in Java, so I already don't like it.
You are racist against Java? Good.
Just a little bit. Okay, so this one also uses a sync std, which we are not using because we are using Tokyo, yeah, or Tokyo, as some people call it like that, but whatever.
Let's call it Edo City.
Is it another name for Tokyo, the city?
I think it's the old name, Edo.
Okay, I didn't know that.
If I'm not wrong.
But yeah, it's the same principle, right? You format the URL to use the mock server URI and whatever suffix you want.
Okay, show me the other one again. I prefer this one.
Yeah, you basically define, I like this when then. It's a bit weird, but I guess it works.
Nah, I prefer this one, to be honest.
Okay, let's do this. So let's install it, and we can install it, I guess, just as a dev dependency, right?
Oh yeah, we just need it for test. We don't need it in production.
So functions, cargo add dev, and what is it called again? I already forgot. HTTP mock.
But well, you say it's a little bit more primitive than other languages, but it's doing the job. It's not. I mean,
let's copy this example. I guess
we have to create a new test and paste these inside the dev, right?
Oh yeah, I like also that you can use hello mock assert to make sure that
the mock was called exactly one time.
Exactly.
With a detailed error.
So basically, if you define different paths, I guess it needs to make sure that you are actually calling that path.
So that ISA HC is our request in reality.
Oh yeah. This is probably another.
Yeah, it's another library.
Yeah.
But we have to use request there. Okay, cool.
Where was I? There. Okay, so if we go back to fetcher, what we want to do is
adding a test.
Adding a test that we call it test fn test with empty page.
Oh, with empty, yes.
Okay. Now, if we copy paste all of this,
we have to move the use. We have to move the use in line 66.
We need to move the use in here.
Yeah, 59, because we don't need it outside of the test. So
yeah, we won't even have it outside the tests. Now, what the hell is going on here? Why doesn't format?
There is some copy and paste. Well, line 91, we have to change Isaac with request.
Yeah, but I'm surprised it doesn't give me an error. It's just Rust Analyzer just exploded.
The Rust Analyzer you have dialed is not available at the moment. Please try again later.
Okay, whatever. So here we don't even want to call request. We just want to call our method, right?
Oh yeah, it's true. We want to call our.
What it was called again? Fetch last issue number.
And the URL is server URL.
And the URL
you can call it.
We can pass anything, right?
Yeah, URL /test.
Let's just call it /test. And
then
here is /test, and we don't need the query param. What is going to return is an empty body. Actually, let's do it a proper. I was liking that suggestion. Yeah. And now what we want to assert is that the response
it should throw an exception.
is going to be basically
like we did in the test, an exception. This
could
should
not
be
find the current selector. This one, right?
yeah, it should that one, yes.
So I wonder if there is an assert matches. Isn't. Well, let's do the same thing. Matches, and the error needs to be this one.
Okay.
Which
and,
is not exactly like that, is scrape error.
colon, colon.
Column, that.
And the line 96.
So we need line 94 now as well.
But
And
95,
this one,
yeah.
we don't care because we don't even see the request.
No, we are one level above that. So what's happening here?
Now, because I don't have Rust Analyzer, I don't even have the thing to run the test. What the hell is going on?
Can you restart it?
Let's restart VS Code, I guess.
There's not a way to just restart your friend Rust Analyzer.
Let's see what happens. Rust Analyzer is thinking. Still thinking.
It's thinking a lot.
It's indexing now.
So it means that it's working and it's not exploded.
Yeah, it's good. Okay. Yeah, we have some issue there. Server URL, why doesn't it like it? Oh, because it's a mock URL. Is it? The example in the website is wrong.
Yeah.
Or server mock, maybe not. Maybe it does different things. Okay, let me see. This returns found a string. Okay, so let's do this.
Because no, but because we don't have to. Yes, because it's a string and not a reference to an str. Yes. And now line 92 is complaining about the type.
What did we do? Mismatch type, expect opaque type. Oh yeah, because now we need to use a weight there. This one we need to use a weight. So this needs to be async, which there is a way to make this function async with Tokyo. Is it Tokyo test? If I spell it incorrectly, maybe.
I was not seeing the problem. Cool. I'm getting.
Now, what did we miss here?
A comma.
Semicolon.
You miss a comma.
Right?
Not a comma? No, the semicolon, yes. Okay. Because you deleted the
yeah, the query string
query parameters.
Yeah. Okay, now, that seems to make more sense. Let's see what happens.
It compiles.
Compiles because there is a new dependency. So it compiles the world.
Why not? And what if the new dependency added traits to existing objects?
Which could be. I guess it could be if you were importing those traits, but here we are importing the prelude thing, which, yeah, could import traits for us.
Yeah. Anyway, you are not paying build time, right, in AWS? But this is on your laptop.
Yeah. It's free. I mean, I'm paying in electricity, but...
You needed to add a cyclet with the generator.
Yeah, shouldn't bankrupt me, just to... build some Rust for now.
You can use Solar today.
Oh, it's working. So when we will start to generate machine learning training stuff, then is when we'll need to be concerned about electricity bill.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I'm curious if we add something like what was the selector?
You need to have a campaign, a div of class campaign
title
with an A inside. Well, you can give the class to the body, to be honest.
Class campaign.
No, campaign is before A. It's not on A. It's on the object that contains A.
Okay, so
from the selector,
this is, you're right. Then I understand your suggestion there. And the title there is which is not going to work because of
is going to give us a different error.
So we'll need to escape the quotes. Okay, now it should fail because it's not going to give us an error, or it's going to give us a different kind of error, the one that cannot pass.
It's going to give us an error, yes, and we can add a dbg of response in line 90.
Okay. Oh yeah, you are right. Let's do that.
Because it's not giving us the difference, of response, reference to response. Just to see what is the error that is coming back.
What is the error? Scroll. Cannot parse issue number, and the issue number was blah. So, or the title was blah.
Yeah, the title was blah.
Okay, so this is, we can reset this one. This is not what we wanted for this test.
Well, we
already have a test covering that, right?
Are we?
We do, because we just mocked.
Oh yeah, that one. Okay, cool.
Yeah, this one. I think one thing that we don't have, and might be nice to have as a last thing for today, is to simulate that the request fails. So I'm curious if this when is in the then we can simulate an error.
Probably then status 503, or I don't know if in the then there is
or
a
like
connection.
Yeah, dropping the connection, something like that.
If you call a URL that doesn't exist, what? I don't know, it's a 404.
Broken response, I guess, or broken
connection, or broken network. Broken everything. Very bad things happened.
So let's see. Then what do we have? Oh, we can even delay. Look at that. Body from file. This is also convenient. Body from file.
Yeah, because if you have a huge body, it's a mess. No, I think you need to rely on a status.
Oh, that's unfortunate. We cannot just.
I mean, look in the documentation. I don't see any way of because there is a when. So when you call this, what is happening? You give me back a result. It's not simulating.
Or is there maybe another server mock? Let's see. Server dot something else. Close. There is server close. Is that a stupid suggestion from Copilot? This URL mock async port is just a port URL. But we do have the address. So what can we do? Can we address? No, it's just
But well, at this point, don't even create a mock. Just call a random URL that is not existing and.
Isn't gonna hang on DNS stuff?
Yeah, but for how long? It's going to give a DNS error.
Okay, let me check here very quickly if we have a way to generate errors. Network delay simulation.
Yeah, but that is a delay. It's not a boom.
Support for regex, matching JSON, cookies. Mock specification based on YAML files. That could be interesting. I don't see anything with errors. I don't know if we have more examples there. Synchronizing, parallelism. Okay, when then API is what we're using. Standalone mode.
No, I think, or we give back a 503 and then we see what is happening in our HTTP library.
Let me just check very quickly the then. What can we do?
But probably in the when is more something in the when. No, yeah, in the then. Sorry, you're right. God.
Body from file, JSON body object, header, delay.
And
oh, you can do probably end header and status, I guess.
Ah, okay.
Nope, there is nothing with error.
Let's try to give back a 503.
What does it do? New ID? No. Okay, let's try to give back an error, which should be anyway something that should make it fail. Fail. If I can click.
And then is result
status 500. Internal server. Look at that.
Where is that status coming from?
No, it's not. It's not the way we think. It's a different crate that we don't have. So 500 is gonna do it.
500.
Okay, let's remove these comments. We don't need them.
You can add back a debug on 109.
Good point. DBG.
But you created a new test or you changed the old one?
I created a new one. Okay. I'm glad I did. I forgot the semicolon.
Let's try again.
It did work.
Cannot find campaign type.
I guess it's not gonna, like if we look at the code, this guy body is not gonna, so this request it's okay anyway, even if it's not a 200. I don't know if we have response.
So the error is coming out of the part.
Error for status. It's like Python requests that you need to explicitly call the method if you want to.
Do we want?
We could. It's an extra safety, but I don't know.
Try to add it and run it again.
But I think this is just gonna give us. Oh yeah, we can do like this.
In theory, it's throwing with that, but then we consumed it.
That's an interesting
line
thing.
37.
Why is it complained?
Because we have to do a match because it's consuming the response doing that.
But why is it consuming the response? Bit unexpected, to be honest.
Oh, in the example, they use it with a match, so. Remove it. Fine. Let's leave the line.
Yeah, they could have just done it with a reference to self, I guess. Unless then when it creates the error, it consumes stuff from the body, maybe. I don't know.
It needs to read the header to find the error code.
Okay, I'm just going to remove all of this because this test is unnecessary. We already have it, right?
Okay, I think for today we are.
I'm just gonna add a
Good.
to-do here for the next time. Is there a way to simulate a dropped connection? And I'm gonna do a commit and we'll call it a day.
Okay, let's wrap it up. You can find the recording on YouTube. The link is on Twitch in the About section. If you're watching this on YouTube, we do live streaming on Twitch every Monday, 6 p.m. Dublin time. Make sure to check the Twitch link in the YouTube description and give us a follow so you can be notified. Feel free to leave comments, open pull requests, to tell us that we're done, anything. Everything is well accepted. We are trying to learn Rust and don't expect our solution to be the cleanest or more idiomatic ones, even if we are getting there. If you know better ways of doing stuff, please let us know so that we can learn. Thank you for all the collaboration in the chat. The chat is there. I'm looking there because the chat is there. And are we going to rate somebody?
Yes, so get ready for some game making.
Cool.
So see you next time.
Bye.